There was a incident last week involving 60 Minutes where they asked her a very specific question. And the answer that she gave, which they published online as kind of a teaser or an ad to get people to watch, was one where they asked her a very specific question, and her answer was exactly like the ones we just showed you, just babbling, nonsensical, as David Axelrod called it, word salad. And then when the actual interview aired on 60 Minutes, that answer was gone, and in its place was something slightly more coherent. Again, feeding not only the widespread valid perception that these media outlets are doing everything possible to help Kamala Harris get elected, but also that she's just incapable of saying what she believes. Here from the fact-checking site Snopes in October 11th, which was last week, quote, CBS News aired two different answers to the same question from Harris's 60 Minutes interview. Quote, former U.S. President Donald Trump claimed the edits constituted a, quote, giant fake news scam and demanded CBS's broadcasting license be revoked. Since then, she has repeatedly, Kamala Harris has, or CBS has, been asked, okay, just release, this is a controversy, just release the full transcript of the video. The interview was 35 minutes long. You only showed 20 minutes of it. There's a lot of dubious editing, obviously. This is a person running for president. Just release the full interview, the full transcript. And CBS just refuses to do so with no explanation about why. Why won't they just release the transcript of the full interview? Here was the before question, the one that CBS touted, and then the one that they decided to replace it with once it got very negative feedback.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not.
Okay, so that was the one that they touted, and obviously the reaction was exactly what you would think it would be, which is, what is she even talking about there? There are actions that were the result of our attempt to encourage certain things that, absent our encouragement, would, like what? What did you get Israel to refrain from doing that they would otherwise have done? What did you do to stop that? It was just a complete ambiguous, empty answer that it was totally void of any information. And yet when it aired, CBS chose to provide an answer that I guess they thought reflected better on her.
Including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
We're not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
So that's why people don't trust the media, and they're starting to believe that Kamala Harris is just incapable of actually speaking in any way. Now, just as a last point, all this began, I think, when you had some sense of what Kamala Harris pretended to believe in when she was running the last time, only for her to completely reverse virtually every one of those views. The thing that people hate most about politicians. Here from CNN in July, right at the start of when she became the candidate, trying to put this in the most delicate way possible. Quote, Kamala Harris recalibrates her policy stances as she adjusts to the role atop the Democratic ticket. Quote, as the burgeoning Kamala Harris campaign works behind the scenes to refine its policy platform, the vice president has increasingly found herself clarifying which of her positions have shifted over the years. From fracking to single-payer health care, several cornerstones of her 2020 presidential run, as well as her time as a U.S. Senator and California Attorney General, now appear at odds with the policies that have crystallized during the Biden-Harris administration and emerged as critical issues in battleground states. But the recent clarifications on her current positions and the speed at which her fledgling campaign moved to make them also demonstrate that Harris's team's need to define the presumptive Democratic nominee, lest Republicans beat them to it. Even as Harris has energized Democrats and boosted the ticket's appeal to Black, Latino, and younger voters, more on that in just a second, she is also seeking a running mate who is likely to be a white man with a more centrist persona. At that same rally, Trump accused Harris of trying to hide her past opposition to fracking, the process of using liquid to free natural gas from rock formations and the primary mode for extracting gas for energy in Pennsylvania. A Harris campaign official said Monday she no longer supports a fracking ban. Harris's campaign also confirmed this week that the vice president no longer supports a single-payer healthcare system. In the midst of the nationwide 2020 protests sparked by George Floyd's murder by a Minneapolis police officer, Harris voiced support for the, quote, defund the police movement, which argues for redirecting funds from law enforcement to social services. Mitch Landrieu, national co-chair for the Harris campaign and former mayor of New Orleans, walked back a, quote, defund the police sentiment voiced by Harris in 2020, saying what she meant is she supports being, quote, tough and smart on crime. So in 2020, when she was going around saying defund the police, what she meant was let's be tough and smart on crime. So I think that, and this happened in the Fox interview as well with Bret Baier, but I think we've shown you enough to make the point that so often the Democrats run people who just are machine politicians. Zero willingness to take a position at all out of fear of offending either the voters, but even more so their base of donors that actually rule and control the party. Kamala Harris's entire career has been enabled by her ability to get into high-level circles, starting with her dating of Willie Brown, the then mayor of San Francisco, back in the very early part of her work as a prosecutor. She then made friends with extremely wealthy people who became believers in her campaign and have funded her all along. She is a pure status quo perpetuator. She has no views other than whatever views power centers and her donors want her to make. And the problem is that this campaign has made that so evident. As I said, every politician wants to evade certain questions, and they do. But most politicians have the minimal skills necessary to pretend they're answering a question while not answering it. She has no political skills. It almost seems like at times she wants to make very clear, I know what you're asking me, but I'm not going to answer. And this has been going on interview after interview after interview after interview. And the only conclusion that one can reach, and that I think a lot of Americans are reaching, it's why her favorability ratings have declined pretty precipitously in just a couple of months, is because people perceive that she actually doesn't believe in anything. She doesn't stand for anything. She's not even pretending to stand for anything. And her real only message is, the reason you should vote for me is because Donald Trump is evil and bad, and that should be enough. And I guess we'll see whether or not that will be enough. Thanks for watching this clip from System Update, our live show that airs every Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on Rumble. You can catch the full nightly shows live or view the backlog of episodes for free on our Rumble page. You can also find full episodes the morning after they air across all major podcasting platforms, including Spotify and Apple. All the information you need is linked below. We hope to see you there.